Well, that's like what I hope every fisherman and hunter experiences at least once in their life.
So I had no idea that was fake. Maybe I need a new editor. That seems like that. If you could do that, you could make the fish a lot bigger on TV. I'm sure. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show today. This is the Tom Rowland podcast, the video show, and that is brought to you by Brite. I've got my son, Turner Rowland, on with us today, and we are talking about cold weather. Turner, as it is cold in Montana as it was last week?
Not as cold, quite the opposite. It's about 45 degrees here now, which is quite balmy for what it was, which was around negative 35. So
Wow.
we were having to deal with all the pipes freezing and horses' water freezing and all that fun stuff.
Man,
Breaking out the sledgehammer.
35 below. That's real cold weather. That's probably cold enough to do that teapot thing I sent you. Did you try that?
No, I didn't try that.
What?
I didn't try that. Malin, my wife, she tried the boiling water over her back.
Did it work?
And she didn't quite, well, kind of, she didn't quite throw it far enough, and it came down and hit her in the neck.
Oh, no. Was it still boiling?
Yeah, I think so.
So,
I mean, the
despite
water
being
was
35
hot.
below, it was still really cold. This is what I thought you could do out there. That's cool. It's got to be really cold for that to happen, I would think.
Oh, maybe close to absolute zero. I don't know if that can happen.
What do you mean?
Well, I
She's
mean,
doing
I think
it
it's
right
fake.
there.
It's definitely fake.
What do you mean it's fake?
The way,
fake?
just look at the way the ice is forming. Yes. That's 100% computer generated.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did a
Come
video breaking it down too.
What?
She poured you see how the water's going in the snow too? So that's the original video, and then they stacked the ice on top of it.
Huh. So I had no idea that was fake. So
I can't believe it got you.
Well,
It got my wife too.
well, I mean, it looks real. Like the steam's coming out of the pot and everything. Okay, well,
Well, it's actual water. She's pouring actual water,
yeah.
but then they just CGI'd the
Oh.
ice.
Maybe I need a new editor. That seems like that. If you could do that, you could make the fish a lot bigger on TV.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would be cool. Well, the first video that I had for us to watch today is an ice fishing video because it's been so cold. All right, check this
He's
one
really
out.
smooth as hell. Let him run. He's ran like 150 yards, bro. Let him run. Oh my gosh. He's running so I can't. I literally have butterflies right now. Oh, shoot. Oh, this is nice and huge. He's like, yeah, 42 inches. Bro, it's 42. Easy 42. Bro.
Wow, these kids know their stuff.
Oh, holy fish. Oh my gosh.
Oh, man, that's
I love
great.
it, man.
Good for those kids. That's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
That is so awesome. Do you see him laying down next to it? Like
No,
that was
no.
so cool. Right at the end, the kid's laying down next to it. It's like huge, but man, that video is so awesome. How excited all those kids are getting, and you can tell they're all out there like on their own, like catching man-sized fish, and they're just like super excited. What do you think? What do you remember? Do you have a memory of catching something big like that?
Yeah, I have memories of catching things like that. The things that stick out to me, though, are ones that I was that excited for, which is just like those kids doing it for the first time on your own, which makes it even that more special. Like the times that stick out in my mind are like me and Hayden going down the Yellowstone and figuring things out on our own. And when he moved out to Bozeman, I was just starting to get good at trout fishing. And so we were just now catching the big fish and just now like knowing when the best times were to fish and getting your best opportunity. And then, landing the first, 20 plus inch brown trout was pretty similar to that. But those kids know their stuff, man. They were using, I don't know that much about ice fishing, but they're using hand lines. They looked like they had their whole rig set up great. It looked like they grew up doing that. And then that was their first time out. And the parents were like, yeah, I mean, go ahead, man, see what you can do. And then they pulled up a dinosaur.
They sure did.
So I love it.
It doesn't always have to be like you're saying, it doesn't always have to be this giant fish. It could be like exactly what you're talking about just figuring something out on your own. And sometimes you look back on those fish and they weren't necessarily that big or impressive, you know, but it was the first one and you figured it out. And that's man, I can think about that. I also think about, like, the first thing I thought about when I saw that video was your elk hunting video.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty similar, man. But yeah, just like you said, I mean, I've caught a lot bigger fish than the ones that I've been so excited about, you know, like me and you together. But it just kind of seemed like everything was put in your hands and someone else was controlling the odds of success, you know, and then you were just kind of there, like tagging along, happy to be there. But then when you're making those decisions and you're figuring it on your own, it makes it that much more special. Oh, yeah.
Talk us through this.
So there was a bull. Oh, well, the shot just broke. So the first shot was at 52 yards. And then he just kind of stood there. You can see me now setting up when the video ended for a follow-up shot.
I did it. I did it. Did it.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, a lot of raw emotions there, man. It's a
why was that so emotional for you?
Well, it was so emotional for me. I think in two parts. Number one, there was like the actual elk hunting part, and then there was the archery part. So for like a little bit of background on me and what I would call my struggles with target panic, I missed probably 15 or 16 deer before I killed my first animal with a bow, and that was my first animal with a bow. So it took about, and for those that don't know what target panic is, it's kind of just like it sounds. You draw back with your bow and your pin is on the target, but you just can't get your pin up to the center, and then when you do, you immediately want to smack the trigger, which causes all sorts of inaccuracies, but mostly inconsistencies. So you'll be able to shoot really good on the range, and then when the time comes for you to make that shot on a real animal, when it really matters, you miss. And so my experience was 15 or 16 deer that I would always, what's called ducking the pin. Everything would be set up for the shot, and then at the last moment, the last second that mattered, I would shove my pin under the deer and smack the trigger. Just subconsciously. And so the archery part was finally figuring out through probably 2 years of really consistent practice how to hold my pin straight and shoot accurately and consistently. That was a big part of that moment. The other part, the elk hunting part, I spent 2 years in the Bozeman area looking for elk. And in those 2 years, I only saw one. And so these animals they're just elusive. Yes, they're loud in the rut. They make all these crazy sounds, but they also move a lot. And they're usually highly concentrated in herds, depending on the time of year. And so if you're not in the area where the herd is, there usually just aren't a lot of elk apart from the herd. And then when you are in the area that the herd is, it's like there are elk everywhere. It's madness, you know? So I think those two things, and that was year 5 of elk hunting. I think I took you on 3 years. I was a guide before that. I saw it happen multiple times. I made the decisions that led to bulls being killed with bows and rifles, but just could never do it myself for 5 years. And that right there was a dream that I had from the time I was like, I don't know, maybe 12. When do you get braces?
Yeah.
I saw my first elk hunting video in the orthodontist office
About
and
11,
decided there.
11 or
Yeah,
12.
so 11, 12. And I killed that elk when I was 23, 24,
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
So it was just really a lot of just the accumulation of a lot of hard work. I mean, for me, I'm not that good of an elk hunter. I'm not that good of an archer. You know, every like success that I have in archery or bow hunting is really in spite of a lack of natural talent. So I just have to work through that. I'm not naturally good at shooting or archery or really hunting. So I have to really work through those problems. And I see, you know, friends go and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, like you can find elk anywhere. I just went up this trailhead and shot a bull." I'm like, well, good for you. You know, I'm having to, you know, struggle a little bit more, which is good. And so all that, I think it was just a raw release of emotion from years of hard work. Not too different than you know. Um, I would equate it to maybe being a little overweight, setting a marathon goal in 5 years, and then finally doing it. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Either way, the emotion that, I mean, we both had that day was amazing, and those kids on the lake, they reminded me of that. Just
Yeah.
overwhelmed with emotion. It's so cool to see kids getting out and doing that, and also parents letting them go out on a frozen lake and drill a hole and fish all day, which is so cool. So it's been cold everywhere. So cold that I picked this other video for us to watch. This one, check this out.
Oh wow.
This is what it looks like if you went swimming in Montana. This guy,
So I
guy's
think
amazing, man. He's the Tongan Icebeard. Do you know him?
is he the guy who surfs in one of the Great Lakes in winter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look,
I know him.
he surfs in the Great Lakes. He also likes to just get washed around in there. But he's got this long hair and he's got this beard and it hangs out of his wetsuit, and then he gets this amazing ice beard. But dang, that looks cold. That looks super cold.
Wow.
So lakes can always be super cold, I guess, in the wintertime like that. And also those Great Lakes, I guess it's wind that is driving the surf that people surf up there.
I don't know.
But
I'm not sure.
There's some reason that there's surf in those lakes up there in the Great Lakes, and they're the size of a ocean. I mean, Great Lakes are so big and they get so rough. I saw another video, the one that you brought actually, of the rough lake. This one's crazy, and it's going absolutely bananas on the internet today, and for good reason. Look at this freaking monster that this guy caught. And when I first saw this, I didn't even know what it was. That fish is so giant. But look how rough that lake is, man. In the hashtags, it says king salmon. So that doesn't look like a king salmon that I've caught in Alaska before, mostly because the ones that I caught were a third the size of that one, I think. But that is a monster of a fish, and I don't know king salmon well enough to know all the different color variations, but there are such thing as lake run king salmon, right? I think. What
struck my interest is I just can't imagine holding a fish that resembles a trout that's I mean, it's that big.
That thing is like the size of a tarpon. It's huge.
What's the measurements on that? I think it had it in meters or centimeters. What's the conversion?
This one says 118 by 80 centimeters. So how much is that? An estimated 30 kg. So 30 kg is going to be it's 2.2 pounds. So they're thinking that's like what, 65 pounds?
So 4 feet long, 70 pounds.
I mean, 70 pounds. That could be 70 pounds. I mean, I could buy I mean, if you told me that fish was 70 pounds, I could certainly believe that it's 70 pounds. I could think that it might be bigger than 70 pounds. That
I
thing
mean,
is
that is just a monster.
massive, massive.
I mean, the guy stands up and it looks like it's as tall as him.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything that resembles a trout that big.
I mean, man.
What do you think? What kind of setup do you think they would have to use for that thing?
I mean,
I guess it wouldn't be leader
judging by the
shy.
guy's clothes, I'm saying he's a fly fisherman.
Yeah.
You know, he's got all the right waders in the jacket. He looks like he's wearing he's got a buff on. He's got he's got magnifiers on his hat. He's down in Tierra del Fuego. I'm saying he's fly fishing. And probably.
Do you think with the magnifiers on the hat, do you think it would be a smaller fly like a nymph rig, or do you think it'd be streamers?
That could be a flashlight on his hat. Could have been a flashlight. Yeah. He could have been out there in that rough, cold-looking weather since
all day,
4 o'clock this morning. There's in the Pyramid Lake they stand on ladders all day. So they get out.
They
there
stand on ladders,
and
they catch those giant Pyramid Lake cutthroats on chronomids mostly, from my understanding.
Well,
I'd love to do that trip
every
too.
Every giant cutthroat in the Pyramid Lake. I mean, that is a massive, massive fish. That is so cool.
It really is.
Yeah.
I can't even wrap my mind around what it would be like to even hook that fish. I would love to see their setup for what they're using.
I don't know what he used. I'm sure there'll be a follow-up video to that, though. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to go down to Tierra del Fuego and try to catch one of those fish. I looked at that video this morning at 8 o'clock, and it's 12 o'clock now, and it was at 2.7 million. And when I looked at it last time on that Tres Amigos, it was at 5.5, and then this one says, here it is again. So right now, it is now 90,000 likes. It's already at 6 million plays now. Like, this video is really, really taking off. 90,000 likes, 962 comments, and 62,000 forwards. That's how a video goes
rightfully
viral
so,
right there.
man. I mean, what a fish. What a fish. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, well, I think 62,000 other people are saying, I've never seen anything like that. I got to send this to my buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, that is...
Let's go down to Argentina.
A good conversation around the videos today. I really appreciate you coming on and bringing that video of that giant king salmon. That thing is amazing. And you win.
Yeah.
That's got the most views of anything.
Even cool, man. This was fun.
Even that one of the kids on the lake, that one is my favorite because of just what's going on with that. It's so cool.
Yeah, well, that's like what I hope every fisherman and hunter experiences at least once in their life. Because I feel like fishing and hunting lend themselves to those experiences. If you just try new things and try to figure things out, and then you're like, oh my God, it works,
Yeah. Well, that's what those kids did. They're out there and they're. Did you see that little tiny bobber they were using? I mean, I don't think they were expecting to catch that thing, and they might have got the granddad of the lake. But that's so cool.
Probably.
All right. Well, that's the video show for this week. Stay tuned and come back next week for this video show, Tom Rowland Podcast Video Show, brought to you by Star Brite. We'll have another guest just like my son Turner. If you have a guest that you think we should have on the video show, send that to 305-930-7346. That's the number where you can always get in touch with us, or you can email podcast@saltwaterexperience.com. And that's it for today. We'll see you next week. See ya. Also, do you know who Tom Jones is?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, well, Tom Jones was like a singer that he's kind of smooth. You'll have to look up his music, but even if you don't know his music, if you know his music, this video is really funny. Oh, so somebody is just amazing at the editing, and they sped up his dancing and then put it to that song. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. Um,
That's great.